Welcome to the Lean Podcast, where empowerment and alignment come together. I'm your host, Mahogany, here to guide you through inspiring stories of resilience, overcoming grief, health challenges, career struggles, and more. Together, we'll lean into strength, embrace growth, and discover the power of sharing experiences. Before we dive into today's episode, I'd like to start with a prayer. If you feel comfortable, I invite you to join me. Dear God, thank you for this space to uplift, inspire, and empower. Bless the woman sharing her story today and those who are listening. May this podcast be a source of hope, healing, and alignment with your purpose for our lives. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Mhm.
All right. So we have Nikki Jordan with us. Nikki, if you could tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do now.
Well, first off, thank you so much for having me. I feel so honored. Like I'm like cheesing where my cheeks hurt. Like like Mahogany wants me on her podcast. What? Okay, feel special. Um, so when people ask about you and like where you come from, it's not a hard question, but it's like what chunks of the story do I tell? You know what I mean? So I'll just kind of give basic and then we can dive deeper as you see fit. So I was Dallas born and raised. I went to Duncanville High School, City of Champions. Woo woo, go Panthers, right? And then I went on to school at the University of North Texas. I always at the because when I watch football players and they do their little introduction, they're like, I went to the University of Arkansas or something like that. Yeah, so I was like, let me represent my school like that. So I went to the University of North Texas and I started off studying for education. It's called interdisciplinary studies. And then I got scared because they were like, you got to take this big old test at the end. I was like, what? I already passed school. So I switched my major in my last year and I actually graduated with a BA in sociology. So that's actually something maybe a lot of people don't know. So I
Okay.
actually graduated with the BA in sociology, went on to be in the corporate world for a while. Um, that just was not satisfying. Prayed about purpose and where I should go. Then God led me to education. I did that for a while until God shifted me again into what I'm doing now. So that's kind of the long and short of it.
Love it. Love it. So if you could explain to us, what are some challenges you faced while you were working in the corporate world?
Oh man. So first of all, in a corporate world, I was in banking. So, dealing with other people's money is always a bit of a challenge. And I think what a lot of people don't realize is banking is actually way more of a sales job than what you think, because you might just see the tellers and they just take your money and stuff. But the reason they're always asking you if you want a credit card or this and that, because they're always telling us to upgrade you. So I was a personal banker, which means I was supposed to be selling loans and stuff like that. Now, why I say that is because the bank that I was at least for a long stretch of time, was a bank in Highland Park. And so, if you're familiar with the Dallas area, Highland Park is like a very affluential, area to where there's people with money. They got the
They don't
money.
play about their money.
They got the money out there. And so you have this young black girl here trying to do business with them and sell them loans. And I was the only black person in the bank for several years. So that was its own challenge within itself, just getting people to, respect me and that my knowledge and stuff like that and want to come and do business with me versus automatically going to some of my counterparts. Now, God blessed me with an amazing personality, so that definitely helped. But it was a challenge sometime, and even just being seen as, credible and things like that.
Oh, wow. I can only imagine what that could be
Yeah.
like in that area, dealing
Hmm.
with people's money on top of that.
Oh yeah. I always like to tell this story. So it was one time this guy this guy was coming in, and the way the bank is was set up was like it actually everybody had desk, and I was at the far end. My desk was actually the first desk, but I was actually talking to one of the tellers at the last desk on the end. And so when I was coming in, this guy was coming in the door. So you know how you get to cross paths like that. So he's coming in, and I was like, "Hi, sir. How can I help you?" Because obviously we're walking towards each other, and I work there, right? So I was like, "Hi, sir. How can I help you?" And literally, he looks at me. He goes, no.
Mm.
Is there anybody else? And I was like, okay, let's work for me. And I just go ahead and call to my desk. But like, that man didn't have no qualms with me. Like, he didn't want no parts of me. He literally looked at me and dismissed me straight in my face. And I was just like, okay,
Okay, sir.
got it. Okay, sir. But even though he was probably the one of the only ones or one of the few that actually did that out loud, other people's demeanor was like that internally. You know what I mean? So
Mm.
I can almost respect him for at least just being upfront with it. He was like, no,
Right. He said he wanted no parts. Wow.
no parts, no parts.
I know that that was emotionally taxing dealing with
Yeah,
people who are underestimating you based off of you being a woman and the color of your skin as well.
yeah.
Besides those quarrels you had, was there ever any other emotional toll that took on you having to go to a 9 to 5 in person?
I mean, just trying to meet the demands of what corporate America wants because they want a certain amount of sales within a certain amount of time. And it's not dependent really on you or even really your efforts. Some of it is, right? But not all of it is dependent on somebody else's yes. And then even once they give you a yes, it's dependent upon their qualifications. So I can do all that I could possibly do and still not meet those goals and then be brought into meetings and stuff like that about why I'm not doing it. But it has nothing to do with me. If it was just up to me and my work ethic, it'll get done, not only get done, but it'll get done quickly. But me meeting those goals isn't just contingent on me. So that would be hard. That would be hard. And every time the goals got upped, it's like they didn't stay the same. They always would up them.
Oh, wow. And
Hmm.
was the higher up pretty understanding with you? Like when it came to those types of things, understanding that you did have some things go up against you to get the work done?
No,
Not at all.
no, they weren't ugly. You know what I'm saying? But it's business. It's not personal. So it doesn't matter. You're here. We hired you to do the job. You said you could do the job. Let's get the job done. You know what I mean? So no, they weren't ugly about it. And if anything was ever like majorly disrespectful, then they would take care of it at that point, not against me, but against whoever it was. But no, as far as like I never complained. I never complained about, hey, you realize I'm a black woman here in Highland Park and no, it's just it is what it is. You do the job.
Hmm.
You do the job.
Love that. Love your work ethic. I know
Yeah.
that you did not end your career 9 to 5 career in the banks. So where did you
No.
go after that?
No, so after that, I actually went into teaching. So Um, I've said this a couple of times publicly, but I'll say it now. Towards the end, I wasn't happy. I didn't want to do it. The job is just it's I don't know, it's just taxing. And so and when you're not working in your purpose, you're never going to be satisfied. You know
Hmm.
what I mean? So it's always going to be some kind of frustration. And what I started experiencing is what I like to call a holy frustration. So, and what I mean by that is whenever you're in a place to where you were once happy and that you enjoyed it, but then all of a sudden, even though nothing really has changed, you are now irritated and frustrated and just don't like being there every day. But nothing about the job or the situation has really changed, but all of a sudden you just feel differently about it. I feel like that's a holy frustration. And I feel like that's God telling you, like, it's time to move, but he's got to make you a little uncomfortable, right? Kind of like the butterfly breaking out of the cocoon. We got to get a little uncomfortable so I get up out of here, right? And
Hmm.
so that's what I was experiencing. Nothing had really changed about the job. It's been the same way for 5 years, but I had got to the point I just could not stand going there. And I was living on my own at that time because when I first started living with my parents, and then I got an apartment living on my own, and so at some point, bills got higher. I had to work 2 jobs. I had a part-time job as well. And I was just getting this holy frustration. So finally, I was trying to go after other things, thinking I wanted to go into planning and all that, excuse me, party planning and these kind of things. And just nothing was working out. Even when I got a yes, I remember going on this interview to be a part of this company to do like event planning and things like that. And the guy actually told me yes. Then I just never heard from him again. And I followed up. And I just never heard from him again. So finally, I just broke down and was like, okay, God, what do you want me to do? And my best friend, Alicia, who we're super cool, still friends to this day. And she had been telling me, honestly, for like 2 years, Nikki, You should reconsider going into education. You should reconsider being a teacher. Have you thought about being a teacher? You should reconsider being a teacher, right? And for 2 years, I'm not gonna lie to you, I dismissed her. I was like, girl, no, I don't want to. Okay, yeah, whatever. I'm not doing that, right? And so finally, after I prayed, I was like, okay, God, like, what do you want me to do? Like, I was like in a place of surrender with that. Um, Either the next day or before the week was out, me and her talked again, and she was like, Nikki, have you ever thought about teaching? And I promise you, this girl has been saying this to me for 2 years. But in that moment, it was like the skies parted, the light shined down, the angels sung. It was like that oh moment. And I was like, yeah, teaching. Maybe.
Wow.
Right. It was like I was hearing it for the first time, even though I wasn't, but that's because now I was open and I was ready to receive what God really had for me. And so from there, as they say, the rest is really history. I got my what they call an alternative certification for teaching. Um, like I said, I went into Dallas ISD at my first teaching position, and I got hired on the spot. And then from there, I was just rocking and rolling, and that's been the thing ever since.
Wow, I love that. I love the holy frustration. I'm definitely going to use that one. You're
Right.
completely right. Sometimes when it's time to leave a situation that seems so good, we do have to get a little uncomfortable, so we will move. So
Absolutely.
I've never heard that saying, but I'm going to use that one.
Yeah.
You know that you were feeling pulled in a couple different directions before you
Yeah.
got the call.
Sorry, there's like something in my eye. I'm so sorry.
It's all right. Go and get it out.
I know. Because I keep trying to be cute about it and it's just not working. Like, what is happening? Okay. We're gonna try this again. Okay, go ahead. I'm so sorry.
You're fine. So I know that you had like that period before you leaned into your education
Mhm.
career where you were, maybe I'll do party planning or maybe I'll do this. And it
Right.
just was not happening for you. What was the ultimate sign you feel like you received that allowed you to move on and even consider like teaching career?
When every other door was closed in my face. Every other door is closed in my face. Like I said, I had actually got a couple of yeses from jobs and stuff like that, and it just still didn't pan out. So I have been a believer long enough to know, okay, if God's not opening that door, obviously that's not the one He wants you to walk through. And so start paying attention to what He does, what He is saying yes to, you know? And so that's like I said, when I got to that point of surrender of like, okay, God, I'm trying everything. I'm doing the best I can. What is it you want me to do? Obviously, I'm not going in the direction you want me to go in. Like, what is it that you want me to do? And that's when I had that encounter with my best friend about like she's saying it again, and it legitimately it sounded like the first time that it had been said to me, and but I was in a place to be open to it now. I was in a place to hear it now, to receive it, and then really do something about it. You know what I mean? So now it's not to say that I didn't ask for confirmation after that, because I did 5 times.
Teacher, 5 times.
5 times.
Wow.
But once he gave me that, that's, I was like, okay, got it.
I love that. I'm always like that. I'm like, God, give me a sign. Okay, no. Well, give me one more sign and just let me know for sure. How do you know
Yeah.
when it is a sign for God for God? Which way do you receive your signs from God personally where you feel like he's telling you yes?
A while ago, God kind of answered that for me because I had that same question, like, how do I know? And one, I will say it's unprompted, right? So you don't go and ask like, "Hey, I'm looking for a sign. Mahogany, do you have a sign for me?" Like, right? Like it's unprompted. Um, but two, what God told me was, "I am your information. People are your confirmation." So a
Mm,
lot of times I would go to people when I was debating about stuff, not just career things, but just life things, right? And I have people in my life who I really, really respect. I respect my dad's opinion. He's definitely a man of God who taught me everything I know, at least most of it. I had close friends that I really respect their thoughts and opinions and things like that. So a lot of times, what was happening, I would go to them first about certain things and what they thought, and then I would go pray and ask God about it, taking all of those thoughts in and then presenting that to the Lord, instead of first going to the Lord and allowing him to use who he chose to use to bring that confirmation, or in whatever way he chose to bring that confirmation. So this time not without even trying, it was different because of that holy frustration, I went to the Lord first, and then that's when he sent confirmation, not just through my friend, but through other sources. So
Oh, wow. I love that. I love that.
mhm.
So when you went to education, what grade did you teach first, or what did that look like for you in the education field?
Seventh grade, I did seventh grade math. And I did that pretty much through my whole educational career. There was points I did sixth grade. There was a point I did eighth grade, but I mainly my main jam was my seventh graders, my seventh grade math.
Oh, wow. I love
Yeah,
that. And did you stay at one school your entire career, or did you move?
absolutely not. Absolutely. Nope. No. So no, no. And education is one of those to where you really don't, right? Because even if you stay in the same district, you're moving up and they will move you to different places and things like that. So you just don't, you stay in the same career, but you don't necessarily always stay in the same school. It's very rare to really find that. It's just kind of one of those things. But starting off in the district that I did, it was a great district. It was great. I describe it as boot camp. So I actually suggest for any new teacher coming into the game to actually go through there because you'll learn so many things. It is tough, but you'll learn a lot of things. And if you can make it through there for 2 years, you can make it anywhere. So, and that's what happened. I was there about 2.5 years because I started in the middle of the year. I started November, close to Thanksgiving, and then stayed through obviously the rest of that semester, next 2 years. So I was there about 2.5 years. And then I moved on to Forney ISD, and then I ended my education career in Mesquite ISD.
Okay, so you moved around a bit. I love that.
Just a little bit, not as much as others, but a
Oh,
little bit.
sweet. So tell us how your career in education came to a closing chapter.
Ooh, man. Okay. This I don't want to do right. Girl, it just don't. Um, so I would say I don't even know how to answer that. I know how to answer that, but I don't know how to answer that. So how you said how did it come to a close?
Yes. When were you
Got
like, okay, that's enough of education. It's time to move on.
yeah, God closed it. That's the very short answer. And of course I'll explain, but God closed it. Um, and I'll say this, I don't think my educational career is necessarily closed. I think God has just moved it into a different aspect in way because I still deal with educators and people who work with youth. I just deal with them in a different capacity, right? I think, and I've said this for a long time, I think I'll always be connected in education in some kind of way, just not necessarily in the classroom,
Okay.
right?
You're out the
So,
classroom.
yeah, oh,
You're in the
yeah,
streets. You're
yeah.
in these real streets with all the people.
God bless the people who are still in there. We need you. I am praying for you. I'm yet praying for you. So the way that happened is my final year in the classroom, I was actually pregnant. I found out I was pregnant with my baby girl, who is beautiful. She's now 16 months. She's amazing. And obviously that's a big life shift. I was never one who thought like, oh, when I get pregnant, I'm gonna stay home or anything, but I had already been again having that holy frustration, right? Of I'm ready to be out this classroom. I want to do something different. And it's just something settled in my spirit to where I knew whenever whenever I found out I was pregnant, I knew that that was the catalyst for change.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Like that was kind of like my exit ticket. So I didn't know how, I didn't know like what way that would look, but it was my exit ticket. So I went through the year the best I could. It was tough, but the best I could. And then at the end, I was obviously on maternity leave, and I was thinking and praying and looking for other things because I knew I did not want to go back to that classroom. I just knew I couldn't do it. And so I found this position that I took in Mesquite that was a teacher support specialist. And it was perfect because it was part time, it was flexible scheduling, meaning I could be home with my brand new baby, but also be out, you know what I mean? Kind of have that in and out. So I'm not just home, but I'm not just away. Um, and then I was just supporting teachers because my prayer throughout that whole last year, I was still a teacher mentor. And so what that means is even though I still had a class that new teachers coming in, they would assign you 1 to 2 teachers to where you were supposed to mentor throughout the year. And I really did my best, and I would try to meet with them and stuff like that and see their classrooms and help out where I could. But it's just really hard when you still have your own, workload in class to deal with too. And I was saying, like, God, I just wish I could just do this part because I really, really enjoyed just pouring in and helping the teachers and just doing that part to where really kind of giving them the game that a lot of times administration won't give, and just really just helping. And so all year I was just kind of saying that, and because it wasn't my first year being a teacher mentor, so I was just saying that, and lo and behold, here's the shop tour. That's literally what it is. I was basically a paid teacher mentor and a flexible scheduling and part time, so I could be home with my baby. It was just I genuinely feel God created that position for me because it was the first year they ever even had it. So I feel like they created it for me. Where I made my mistake was I thought that he created that for me so that I could stay with that. And he said no. So after being in that position for a year in Mesquite, they kept the position the next year because there's a lot of budget cuts. So they were cutting things, not just in Mesquite, but just all over. That's just, where we are. And that position got cut from 80 people to 40 people. And I was on the wrong side of that 40. And it was crazy because I just knew like I was killing the game. I did great. I had great reviews from my teachers, like great support. I was like, I just knew I would be in there. And I was like, no, I needed you there for that time. Now I need you to shift into this other thing that I have you doing full time. So that's how that closed. So it wasn't me. I wasn't trying to actually leave per se at that time. I was actually trying to stay, and God said, "No, it's time to transition." So
Wow.
that's what you do.
Wow. Way to be obedient because you got pushed one way or the other. It sounded so beautiful.
It was because normally when something like that happens, the first instinct was I gotta have something. Let me go ahead and apply for these jobs. Let me do this. Let me do that. And start trying to basically create a solution for myself instead of asking, okay, Lord, what's the solution that you want me to take? And so, but he had already really kind of settled it in me. It was just really hard to accept at first, but I'm leaning into it now.
Love that. Way to lean into it.
I'm leaning.
Lean. All about leaning, you guys. That's our motto here. Lean into it. Okay, so tell us, what are you doing now? You've walked us through your beginning stage, your humble beginnings, and then we
Yeah.
went into a career that you felt God had put you into, and
hmm
a space that you put you into, and then he pulled you out. So he's just yanking you from one spot to the next, putting you in the place that he needs you in that moment, and you're just going.
I'm like, what is happening? So now what I'm doing is I'm full time within my business. My business is called Confidence at Any Size. And what I'm doing is I'm training, educating teachers, educators, as well as youth organizations how to cultivate and how to master the skill of cultivating positive relationships. Right. So basically, what that means is this: I have a training that I call like the art of mentoring and a training that I call the art of teaching, right? And the reason I call it the art of teaching or the art of mentoring is because there's so many people in my profession, there's so many people who are in like mentoring programs who have the heart to want to help. They have the heart to want to make an impact. They have the heart to want to create change within our youth, right? But they do not have the art behind it. And one of my frustrations that I had while I was still in the classroom was a lot of times at the beginning of the year, we do a lot of onboarding, like with professional development trainings and stuff like that. And when you first come back, this happens is to where they welcome the administration and they'll welcome you back and say, hey, welcome back. Thank you for being here. All this kind of stuff. Without you, we wouldn't have a school and just all these things, right? Trying to pump you up. And then they would say something to this effect. They would say, the relationships that you develop with the kids is the most important thing. Without the relationship, it's not going to go well. You must have a relationship with your students in order to make an impact with your students, right? Totally agree with that. And so they'll say you got to have a relationship with students is the most important thing. And then everything that they say after that has nothing to do with showing you how to do that.
Mm.
So they tell you that something is the most important thing, that this is the most important thing to do it, and then they give you no instruction on how to do that, making the assumption that everyone just knows how to build a relationship with kids, or everyone just knows how to build relationships. And that's a lie. That's just not true.
That's a lot.
There's a lot of people, it's a lie. Um, just because you have the heart to do something doesn't mean you have the art behind it. We saw that in the Olympics with old girl breakdancing, right? She baby had the heart behind it, and she even had the education behind it. But baby, that art piece was missing. All right. So, but what it is because you need somebody to show you how to make these, um, how to do it. And so, what I do is I teach the how behind the heart. So I teach the art behind the heart, right? I teach the how. How do I go about doing that? Because in this day and age, in this post-pandemic age that we're in, people coming out of pandemic, we're more depressed than ever. We're more anxious than ever. We're more introverted than ever, and that does not make for someone who just knows how to go out there and build relationships. We lost our way of how to connect with each other during the pandemic. And nobody is really taking the time to say, hey, let's rediscover these skills, these social skills on how to do that. And now you're throwing these adults in here who feel all these things and saying, now go connect with this kid. This is why you have a teacher who is either way too nice and let the kids do whatever they want, or they're way too strict and nothing's getting through. It's a delicate dance that you have to have with that, and so that's what I teach.
Oh, wow. You're so right. The pandemic, especially when it comes to children, have
Hmm.
lost a lot of their ways.
Yeah.
Wow, I love that. That's so needed. Where can people find your services if they needed it? Who would reach out to you? Would it be a teacher or would it be a principal or who would that person be?
Yeah, so usually people who schedule like the PD trainings is the administration and or the district professionals who do that. So they can find me on social media. I'm on Instagram at confidence at any size. I am on Facebook, Nikki Jordan, or you can find me the Confidence Concierge on Facebook. I'm also I'm building a LinkedIn page. They
And
can go to my website. They can go to my website, confidence@anysize.com, and you can find me pretty much anywhere. That's where I am, and to connect with me, and all that kind of stuff, so we can figure out how we can help your educators, how we can help your mentors be great. So, because it's not just for teachers, this is for mentoring programs too, because they're working directly with the youth on life issues. And so these are people who truly are just off the street who really do have a heart to help and serve, but they still need training on how to do that, right? Because you with mentors, a lot of times what happens is they do come in and want to just be buddy buddy with the kids, thinking that's the way to do it. And that kind of it, but not really. That's not all of it. You there is, like I said, it's a
there's
delicate
art.
dance.
There's an art
There's
to
an
it.
art to it. There's an art to it.
I
There's
love,
an art.
I love that so much. What would be some advice you have for our listeners who are probably stuck in a career that they don't want to be in
Mhm.
and they're looking for a different outlet? What would be some advice you'd give for them?
Matthew 6:33. Seek ye first the kingdom of God, and then all these things will be added unto you. When you seek the Lord first, I am a living witness. He will hear you. He will answer you. And then at that point, you have a choice. You have a choice to be obedient and go the way he says, or to be disobedient and keep floundering in the abyss of the unknown. But the key is to seek him first. And if you've been trying things like I did, it's never too late to go back and then seek him and ask. Ask and the door will be open unto you, right? It's never too late to do that. But seek the Lord. And I promise you, the guidance he gives you is the best, because he can only give you the best. He's not able to give you second best. So that would
Love.
be my advice.
Thank you for that advice. All right, you guys. So we heard all about Nikki's holy frustrations to her going for information from God and getting confirmation from the people he leads her to. It's just been an awesome time here with you today. We really appreciate you hopping on, Lane. Our goal is that one story inspires another person to change or continue on with their story. So we do appreciate you taking your time to be here, Nikki.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. The mahogany artist. I appreciate it.
You're awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you for tuning into Lean. I hope today's episode left you feeling inspired, empowered, and ready to take on whatever challenges come your way. If this conversation resonated with you, make sure to subscribe so you'll never miss an episode. And don't forget to share it with someone who could use a little extra encouragement. The Lean podcast thrives because of listeners like you. So let's continue to build this community. Drop a comment, leave a review, and let us know what topics you'd love to hear more about. And if you haven't yet, be sure to join our Facebook group, the Ladies Empowerment and Alignment Network, where the conversation and support continues every day. Until next time, keep leaning into growth, empowerment, and alignment. Thanks for being a part of the Lean community.